What's up, everybody? This is Evan. Welcome to another episode of the Which Way Now podcast. Today's awesome because I had on a new friend of mine. His name's Miles Hanson, and we are kindred spirits that live on opposite coasts of this country. I'm in Florida, he's in Cali, and we're both marketers, and he's got a lot to say on things such as bro marketing and the things that are manipulations and how we can rise above that and lean into our intentions and be authentic about what we do to better promote what we're trying to put out there in the world. We talk about the messy middle, and that's what he calls that space between when you decide you want to do something and actually figuring out how to get it done. The messy middle is something that we all find ourselves in, and he's got some thoughts and some tips behind that. Talking about the positioning yourself as an expert versus positioning yourself as an explorer. Man, that was really cool. And we also jump into talking some music, and we're both musicians, so that's fun, and it's kind of interesting. Miles has got some fun facts about him that you'll have to wait around to the end of the episode. He's got a weird relationship with cheese. Sounds weird. Here, let's get into the intro and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the podcast. Attempting to simplify the complexities of entrepreneurship and what makes for a good life. This podcast is riddled with questions, ideas, philosophical food for thought, tangible takeaways, and honest stories that highlight one man's journey. My name's Evan Shank. Welcome to the podcast, Which Way Now? I like the podcast that you guys have set up. It's
Thank
so
you,
cool.
Man.
It's so cool.
It's so fun.
And it's a breath of fresh air too, because, I feel like a lot of podcasts, at least the ones that I listen to, because it's all in this like either personal growth or business help type of space, that it's a bit of high energy, the stuff that I seem to listen to. And like even in your intro, it's like, and just taking a moment and going, and I was like, this is perfect. This is perfect.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So like what got you into even considering the idea of podcast? Because you've already got a lot on your plate or multiple plates that you're spinning, right?
Right.
And you're trying to kind of find your way through it all. And we just had a podcast where we were on your side and we were talking about some of this same exact stuff. So why would it be worth to like jump into something else? Or what was it for you and Bill, your co-host, that made this the thing worth pursuing?
It's a lot, right? So yeah, how can I justify adding that to my plate? And I think the short journey was basically, I started a podcast solo, like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago now. And it was on the way back from the gym in my phone, 10 minutes, like super. If I went back and listened to it, I would cringe. But that didn't last too long, didn't really go anywhere for me. But it was a nice way for me to like put some energy into thinking about topics. And after that, I was like, okay, whatever, I'm not going to do that. But I consumed all the podcasts. I'm a podcast junkie. That's my main thing. Like people that know me joke because it's crazy how often I have pods in my ears, and it's like I'm working on that. It's a little too much, to be honest. So I got to like take fasts from it, like audio fasts.
Yeah, for sure.
I love reading and stuff, but I can listen so much faster. I'm just an auditory learner, I guess. So I just always loved that medium. I love voice. I love conversation, back and forth flow, like ping pong. It's just fucking awesome. And if I can cuss, and it's like,
sure.
It's really what humans do is we like tell stories and share experiences, and we try to get vulnerable. And I noticed that about you, like with your last episode, I was like, yes, because that's the kind of shit that we need more of, is the rawness, the behind the scenes, the messy middle that people like to skip over because it's, they think that they have to put up this facade that they are this god of marketing that knows everything. And I've totally been there, and I love the other side of it. So the podcast that we have now, which is called The Subtle Art of Not Yelling,
which I love, by the way. It's such a cool title.
It's funny. It's like way too long, but it just works for us. and it's fun. But I did this thing called Tiny Training Tuesdays, which is now transformed into what's now Seeds. We could talk about that later.
Yeah.
And that was, it started as like a video thing, and then it just turned into audio because it was way easier. And I would go on a walk every Tuesday and record an audio on a specific topic, 10, 15 minutes, and send that to my little email list. And I did it for long enough to where I was like, okay, this is cool. I like this. And I started getting replies and feedback, and people liked it. And then finally I was like, would you guys be interested in like a legitimate podcast version of this? Is that because the last thing I wanted to do was just start a podcast and speak into the void about something that no one wants to hear, or something that people are already doing, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to add noise. And so I got an overwhelming feedback about, let's do it. You should do it. And one of the people that was on my list that I had also known through other ways was Bill. And he said, hey, man, I've wanted to start a podcast for a while, but I just want to do it with the right person. So if you're ever interested, let me know. And we called, and it was just a no-brainer. We clicked. We had the same experiences around marketing and like being in different programs that we could like talk shit about and stuff, and how we didn't like that way of marketing.
Right.
And yeah, man, that's pretty much it. We started it because of that. And we were like, hey, if we're going to do this, it's not going to be another like tips and trick podcast. It's going to be fun for us because we want it to be sustainable.
Yeah. Well, and that's awesome. I think it's cool too. I mean, like you were saying, you didn't want to like add to the noise. And I think that goes into something bigger there too, where it's kind of a little bit of reaching out to your audience, which you have built over time, which is great. And actually seeing what they want from you. You know, like, how can I be better for you because it's better for all of us this way? And that's something that you see with a lot of like people that have an idea, or these young companies that put all of this time and energy and investment into something, thinking that it's going to change the world for people, or that people are going to, you know, be ripping it off the shelves, so to speak. And then they get out there and it's crickets. It's crickets. And it's like, well, who are you actually chasing after? And this is it kind of bleeds into a little bit of some marketing 101, which maybe you could kind of start to highlight a little bit of like what you do and where you're at in that space. And even getting into one of the first things I will kind of sidestep and say, one of the first things that I saw on your site, I think, or maybe it was your LinkedIn bio, is you used this term bro marketing. And I was like, that's awesome, because it made me think of the fitness industry and like the bro lifting splits and the bro this or the bro that. And it's just kind of like the cool way, and it's never really challenged but somehow it feels like a square peg in a round hole in a sense. So like, let's just talk a little bit of your story in marketing and where that bro marketing thing came from and how you wanted to be different. And let's kind of go that direction, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man, bro marketing is so funny. I found that term maybe like 2 years ago now or something, maybe a little less. And at first I was like, I was defensive. I was like, well, am I a bro marketer? Like, I don't like, why is it got to be bro? You know, why can't it be something else? And, you know, I don't agree with all of it. And then I like really looked into it, and I was like, wait, I don't need to be defensive, because this is everyone, when they first get into marketing, you almost can't not learn bro marketing. So,
right. What does that mean? What is bro marketing?
So it's basically manipulative. It's unethical. It's trickery. It's like very, it's like psychological tricks. So, you know, persuasion copywriting that's going to make them want to pull out their wallets and buy and spend thousands of dollars. And it's like, it feels like very, attack, like you're like hunting mentality, like you're going and right. Does it kind of make sense?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a great way to put it, actually. Absolutely.
Come up with plenty of examples. Like the best, simplest example is if you're on a landing page for a product that doesn't have any sort of limit on how many things it can sell, right? Like if it's a product and it says there's only 2 spots left, but really there's 20 spots left or unlimited, then that's just unethical. You're just blatantly lying to try to move someone into the sale because of scarcity or FOMO or whatever, some sort of pressure that's made up.
So then how do you reckon with, because there's kind of these 2 different schools of thought, and one is much more prominent, and it's this bro side of things. It's the uglier, more manipulative side of things. How do you reckon with the fact that some of those tactics are so stinking proven and balancing, integrity and authenticity, like as a human trying to like be good for the world in my own little way? Like for young marketers or people thinking about getting into that, and maybe even in sales as well, because they're totally different things, but a lot of these things apply on both sides of that table. Yeah. How do you balance those 2, and what are some solutions or things that you've figured out mentality-wise, maybe even for you, that's worked to kind of get the best of everything because something works, but you're trying to do it a better way? What is that?
If I could just put it in one word, then I'll explain a little bit. It's just intention. It's just intention. That's it. It's really simple. It's really simple. Like we talked about when we talked, it's like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing here? What's your intention? And so if you're coming into it, which I did when I was younger, because when we were young, we were hungry. Like I was in this one mastermind in Austin, Texas, where I'm from. And it was the internet. I guess I won't say it, but it was good. It was fine. But it was like a lot of internet marketers that were making millions, or at least came off that way. And they were like, if you met someone and they were a copywriter, it was like, oh shit, they're like one of those badass copywriters that gets paid like, $20,000 for a page or something. And you're like, damn, what a superstar. I want to be like that. So I was around that, and I was around people doing incredibly well financially. And so I wanted to be that. And to answer your question about like because that stuff works. It does help to understand psychology and understand how people work, how they buy, why they get tripped up and don't invest in themselves because the money's too much or whatever it is. It is good to know that stuff, but your intentions have to be right. And you have to remember that there's a human on the other side, and you can put yourself in that position. And so like, just to bring it down to a tangible example is the same example I just gave, where there's a countdown timer or limited spots available. There can't actually be limited spots available. And there's nothing wrong with that strategy. There's nothing wrong with being honest and saying there's only 10 spots and 8 of them are taken.
Right.
That's just that's good to know, But if you're lying, then your intention is to make money. If your intention is only to make money, like, of course we all do things for money. We have to make money. I'm never better than money in a way, right? Like I want money. I want lots of money, and I want to help people make money. Money is bouncing around. It's just energy. It's like a fun game.
Yeah, man.
But if that's your only intention, is to use someone else to make money and trick them into buying, then you're missing the whole point.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And summing it up, which is what we always need with everything, complex topics, is just intentions. And it seems like on this bro side of things, the side that works, it's manipulation. Mm-hmm. And I think something that I'd like to hear your 2 cents on it too is we are now in a time, and we talked about on your podcast, hyperconnectivity and the good, bad, and ugly of it, that we can kind of sniff out the BS. Our radar for that is really good. Yep. And especially the people that are younger than us that are coming up that have always had a cell phone in their hand in some capacity or opportunity to stay connected in this way. It's baked into them. And so it's changing the dynamic of how business is done. So what do you think about that? Like, does that, it's exciting in a way because I think we're all kind of coming over to this other side of being more authentic and really trying to help people rather than manipulate people. But then it also makes it really challenging because you're like, all right, how am I going to actually convert? How am I going to make more sales? It's like, it's just wild, right?
Right. Yeah, it is. And I've been on a crazy journey to figuring that out, and I'm still figuring it out in a lot of ways. And I've really learned that, well, yeah, first of all, you're right. Our understanding of relationships through the internet, because it's weird, right? Like in person, we know that, but now meeting someone through the internet, maybe even not directly talking to them, but like almost talking to their business, like communicating with their brand in a way, interacting and engaging with their brand. That's still a relationship in a way. And we have to build trust. And our gauge of, is this person authentically being authentic and can I trust them is way better today because there's so much more of it. We're all online. We're starting to like feel out relationship building online.
Right.
So how do we, I mean, again, going back, it's really simple. You just be authentic, like try to show more of the rawness like you're doing and stuff like that. I think that's one really big thing. Like Bill said, my co-host, he was like, honestly, if a marketer tells me that they don't know anything, I'm going to I want to talk to them. I want to hire them because the other marketers are like, I know everything,
right?
Which is just bullshit.
And when somebody says that they know something, it also, you're kind of also posturing in a way that's saying, I have no intention of trying to grow past this. I have conquered this mountain. I've already arrived. So here I am, world. Hire me, you know, and there's only 2 spots left, you know, and it's like, okay, well then we all know, especially consumers, the younger consumers that are getting older and older and becoming the adults of the world, changing the dynamic of the world is like these mountains, you might have conquered a mountain, sure. Maybe you did get to the tippy top and there's nothing more, but it's not going to take long before all of a sudden there's another peak that pops up next to it. That's very important. And for you to stand on your little mountaintop that once was big, that's not going to serve you or anybody. Right. And it can be more deteriorating on people and people's perception, the taste that's in their mouth about certain things. Like when I was getting into marketing, I kind of got like weird looks from people because it was everybody's experience with it, you know? And I just find that really interesting. Like things just are changing so fast, and you're right. It's obviously it comes from your intention, but then you're sharing that. And if you know a lot about something, I mean, let people know that you know, but that still you have a heart and a pursuit of further knowledge and understanding and growth, not only for yourself, but for the sake of your clients and your future customers as well, because you exist for them in some capacity.
100%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The way that I've seen that come through is the people that I respect and look up to, the mentors in my life, they are more, and I forget who said this first, they kind of like planted this seed in my brain. I'll send it to you afterwards because it's a really good podcast. Yeah. Jay something, but he said, you know, they're explorers. So instead of being an expert, which we're all experts in things like that exists. We have skill sets, we have experience around certain things that make us an expert. And of course you want to find that. But above that, I want an explorer, someone who is curious and almost childlike, almost like obsessed with this, whatever it is, this topic, this idea. So call it marketing or whatever, where they're going to like research it. They're going to look at it. They're going to find examples in their real life and they're going to share that with me, the person who's following them or whatever. Those are the kind of people that I love following. Seth Godin, plenty of other people that I can't think of right now, but they are explorers. They're just going around and looking up all the ideas. Also, Elon Musk is a really good example because Elon is, no one can argue his obsession with his products. Like he's obsessed with it. He's an engineer. He's not a marketer, but he is, right? Like he's an engineer. Tesla has spent they haven't spent $1 on advertising.
Really?
They barely even have a marketing team. Yet
that's wild.
In certain capacities, they are the number one car company in the world. Market cap wise and everything else, they've just blown past everyone who's spending how many multi-millions on Super Bowl ads and commercials and whatnot. And it's because, number one, it starts with the product. He's obsessed with the product. So he ultimately has a really great product. Yeah. You know, it kind of sells itself in a lot of ways. And then also on top of that, he's Elon Musk. He's this polarizing figure that's the one thing you also can't argue, whether you like him or not, is that he's honest. Like he is authentic. When he gets on podcasts, he smokes weed because he doesn't give a shit. Like
I was there's something,
there's something really attractive about this. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to be me, that pulls people in and makes you build that relationship with them. And then ultimately that's been his marketing, is him getting on podcasts and doing conferences and stuff like that. He doesn't spend money on like traditional advertising. It's really, really interesting.
It's so cool. I'm going to repeat that for my sake and everybody else. Expert versus explorer.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that it's a versus, but like these two different words and how you can swap that out. And it's also, you know, of course it makes it more fun because they share some letters. And so it kind of sounds the same, but it like means something much bigger, right? It helps it stick. Whatever makes it sticky. Exactly. If it's worth holding on to, then that's good.
Mental Velcro.
I like that too, man. You got these like one-liners, these little things that you are very adhesive with the things that you say. It sticks to me and I stick back to it. So
that's awesome.
I appreciate your existence in this space, you as an individual, as we continue to get to know each other.
Yeah.
And also what you're representing in this field of marketing. That's why I was like, because one of my pursuits, and the people that listen to this podcast know that I'm really trying to push myself out of my comfort zone in any way that I can, that also has some sort of productive goal to it. It helps something else that I'm trying to do, right? And so like for me, when I started this podcast towards the end of last year, I think it was October or something, I was like, well, I'm just going to talk in the mic by myself, because that's still a big leap, you know, going from not being a podcaster to being one. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, no, this can't just be about me. But then also what has been proven to work is the dialogue, is the conversations. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm not, you know, I don't know that I can host and hold a conversation and keep us on time and all this, you know, so I get in my own head about it. But, you know, I had a good friend of mine that I had on the episode, or a couple episodes ago, Joel. And so that was kind of like a low risk entry point for me. And I was like, I need to go find some people that I don't know that I will know.
100%.
And you were one of the very, very first people. I think you were the second person that popped up. And I actually forgot the first person's name because I got stuck in. I started combing through your website and the offers you had. And like, I was just like, this dude's got swag 10 different ways. I'm going to talk to him. So,
thank you, man. That's awesome to hear. You know, I always say like, you could sit, because as marketers, you know, we're sending out emails or doing posts on Instagram or whatever it is for you. And like so many times it doesn't perform how I want it to. And like I get unsubscribes or unfollows, or I get very little likes because the fucking algorithm is doing whatever it's doing. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, like missing the mark, you know? And then I just lose all this energy, because I am a sensitive person. Like energetically, I'm very sensitive to my environment and externals. And when you say something like that, or a friend says, oh, it's so cool how you did this thing, it gives me so much energy. Just one little thing, right? I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that, where you, like what you just said is going to last me a good amount of time, a couple weeks probably, where I'm going to be able to like get over those lows.
And when it wears out, hit me up and I'll say it again. I'll use different words because I'll still mean it then too.
Yeah.
You know,
so cool.
and if one person, you know, me in this example, is willing to say it, that means there's a whole bucket of people that are thinking it too and feeling that.
Right.
You know, so
yeah, man,
keep doing what you do, but let's let's keep pushing into this, like talking on sensitivity. Let's move over into something that you like to speak on that I'd like to hear you speak on of energy management. And what is that? What does that mean? I mean, I think everybody could probably fill in the blank.
Right. Sure.
But what's that mean for you, and why is that worth bringing up and highlighting and speaking on?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with, we are not machines, but we seem to put pressure on ourselves and our businesses to operate as if we are machines. And it's taken me so embarrassingly long to figure that out. And so energy management is one of the most important things to me, because I'm different than you, who's different than the next person. And our energies are very different. So I am way more on the introverted side when it comes to like I'll do, if I'm out doing stuff with people, socializing out and about, I'll need a solid amount of time afterwards, just alone. Any relationship I've been in, a huge theme for me has been like, I need some space.
Yeah.
Friend or intimate. And so when that translates to my business, like there's so many things I got to do. I got client work. I got to promote my own stuff to get more clients. There's, navigating like the mindset stuff, like confidence and creating offers and building relationships. Like it's endless. My to-do list is it's endless. So
especially when you're trying to like beat the status quo and not be the bro thing that we talked about. There's even more pressure on those tasks because there's no rule book for it necessarily.
Right. Yeah. There's no, and that's something that's good and bad I've seen is I've always wanted to like go my own route. And I've realized more recently that that's really silly, because like I'll never not have a coach again. That's something Bill and I have talked about. He's a mindset coach. He coaches me. We coach each other in a way. But I will never not have a coach, because support is so invaluable. And same with like a community. But that being said, getting back to my point, energy management is, if I'm going to go do all those things, then I'm only have so much energy every day for that. And I'm also like a very, I've learned that I'm very, I'm not like the most consistent person. I don't have a whole lot of like discipline. I'm an extremist. So like I used to stay up really late all the time. And then I just kept going into like a deficit with energy because I'd be more and more tired, but I'd like have all this creative energy late at night or something, like very unhealthy.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn how to structure my day where it's like, it's structured and it's masculine, which is, I just talked to someone about this, like masculine, feminine energy is separate from gender. It's not the same at all. It's yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's the same. So
that's a cool thing to talk about.
Right. So yang, it's not talked about enough, I don't think, in business. And yang is the masculine structure. It's like, it's forward moving. You have to have that. And it's the container. And then yin is like the feminine. And it's typically more spontaneous and creative. I have a lot of yin. So if I don't have any structure, I'll waste my day away playing the guitar, playing the piano, like drawing stuff, tinkering on my website, making content that doesn't really, it's just, there's no structure to it. And next thing I know, the day is wasted in a way. Mm-hmm. And then same with the other way. If I'm all masculine, if I'm all yang, then I'm in my head. It's typically not an enjoyable experience for me because I'm so in my head. I'm overthinking, I'm over planning. And I used to be that. I used to be more yang. And honestly, to circle it all back a little bit, most of that energy, because that's not truly me, most of that energy came from listening to others, listening to podcasts that were very fast paced. They were, I would listen to podcasts and I'd feel like anxious afterwards because I'm not doing these 5 things that they say you have to be doing in your business.
No kidding. Yeah, me too, man.
It's so much. So energy management is just, everyone's different. So you have to get to know yourself. You can see clear patterns in the way you run your day. Like if I could give a few tools they're ridiculously simple, but I didn't do them for a while, is track your day. Just like I try to do it every now and then. So maybe pick like a week or at least like 2 or 3 days and track every hour. And it sounds like a lot of work, but it's not, because it takes half a second to write down what you did that hour.
Yeah.
And then you can look back at your day and see where all your time went.
Absolutely.
And this typically a weird correlation between your productivity of that day, because you're actually like intentionally tracking it. Those are usually the most productive. And
Very
then
true.
Aside from that, for me, it's been a calendar. I live by my calendar. And, you know, like someone will say something like, hey, we should go do this. I'm like, put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
I'm down to do it. You know, I have a lot of freedom, which is like what part of why what I've created in my business is like freedom and flexibility. Mm-hmm. So like, let's go do it. Let's go on the hike. Let's go travel, whatever. But if it's not on the calendar, I'm never gonna just randomly, hey, let's go do it. So calendar's everything.
You've got other things that you're trying to accomplish, and it requires a level of calculation and precision and professionalism. And so then energy management is interesting, because we hear about time management a lot, and you're touching into that for sure. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like there's quite a bit of parallel. What would you say, for just kind of clarifying for the listeners, the difference between what you mean when you talk energy management versus time management? And can you be doing great at one and sucking at the other and not realize it? Like, what kind of compare and contrast those a little bit for us?
The first kind of like visual that came to my mind, example of this is like, if I have an hour to work on a task and my energy is shit, I'm not going to finish it. But if I'm on point and my energy's there, and I've like structured it in a way where I have no distractions, no holes in my energy container, then I'll knock it out in like 10 minutes and have so much time for something else.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. It's like the potency of that task or container that you're working within.
Yeah.
That, I think that to me is the difference, because if I can, like, honestly, I've gotten to the point where if I can do, this might sound ridiculous to some, but like if I can do 2 to 4 hours a day of deep work, then I'm good. Like if I did 2 to 4 hours a day, call it 3 hours a day of the deepest work, because I go really deep and it's often very creative work. Mm-hmm. 3 hours a day, I'll finish more, get more done, and make more moves doing that than anything else. Like if I try to do 5 hours every day, right, or like do a whole day where I go really deep, like it's something about that amount of time for me that works so well, and I can accomplish more in that amount of time than I can in like a full day where I'm not in the right state.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just watching, like many people at this point, I just, out of all of the different streaming platforms, and I'm talking like videos and stuff, like I prefer YouTube over Netflix and Hulu combined. Like I'm a YouTube junkie.
Nice.
But, for some reason I still deal with the commercials. I won't pay for the ad-free experience. I mean,
I bit that bullet finally. It's so worth it, man.
My brother's like, what are you doing? Why I'll buy it for you. Yeah. I'm like, okay, kid, well then do it. No, but I was watching this video last night as I was starting to kind of drift off into half awake, half asleep space. And I'm on my iPad watching this Australian, I think, entrepreneur, and I can't remember his name and I can't remember what business he's part of, but he's like hyper successful as far as the amount of sales that they have, the money that's coming into his life and into his businesses. And he's jumping off of cliffs, he's skydiving, he's, snowboarding, he's doing all this crazy stuff. And
nice.
For, people like me, a lot of us were like, how do you do this? Like you can't have both, or so it seems. And it kind of came into his way, the way that he manages not only his time and his calendar, but his energy as well. Mm-hmm. And so what he does is he goes in and he'll work really hard, even for 30 minutes, that deep work thing. And then he's going to go play Super Smash Bros with some of his some coworkers for a half hour.
Right.
And he allows his whole office, and I think actually they're a marketing agency.
Cool.
He allows everybody in that working space to take these massive breaks to recharge and refuel, however that is for them, whether it's spending time with other people and playing some N64 or ping pong or going on a walk, going to the gym, throwing your headphones in, whatever it is. He encourages that. And he's like, that is why I have what I have, because when it's time to work, I'm charged up and ready for it. And I have a reward right on the other side of it. So then, for people, once again, people like me, I think we're all kind of similar in this way. When you have a really good session of like the flow state is the other way I've heard it, like deep work, flow state, you're just kind of zen, time goes away. There's a lot of fulfillment that comes from that task and being on the other side of it and be like, look what I created. Look where I was and where I am now, whether it's 20 minutes of work or 3 hours. But typically people can't do a whole lot more than that amount of time of hyper productivity. Not only do you get the reward emotionally and mentally from the deep work that you did and the accomplishment there, but also knowing like, shoot, I'm going to go swim across the lake now because I can, or, whatever, which I'm looking at a pond right now in my backyard and it's infested with alligators. So I don't think that's, if anybody is in Florida listening to this, maybe don't do that here. Maybe go over you're in Cali, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How you liking it?
It's awesome, man. I kind of got stuck here in a good way, like intentionally. It's beautiful. I'm from Austin, Texas, so the heat, humid, and then went to Colorado, super dry, love the mountains, consider myself like a mountain man over the beach. Came here just to try it out for like a month with a friend, and then I'm still here. And that was like 5-6 months ago now. So
you're a beach dude.
I guess so, man.
You could be both. You don't have to be one or the other.
I mean, I get it. I so get it when I'm walking on the beach and the waves and the energy. I get it. Before I thought of the beach as like, I just get sand everywhere and I'm sunburnt. But when you feel like for me, it's like the power of the ocean and like getting in every now and then. And yeah, man, it's awesome. And then there's also mountains within 2 hours from here.
Well, there you go.
Big Bear and Mammoth. So I'm a big snowboarder, so I still have access to that as well, which is nice.
That's sweet. So the board over the skis, huh?
Yeah, I'm really like cool. So I'm a snowboarder.
You got to be a boarder then. I actually did both. I grew up in Ohio and we had, I was homeschooled actually for middle school. So 7th and 8th grade, I was homeschooled for a little bit. And so the way to get the PE credits, the physical, like the gym class credits so that I could move on with life, I guess, was I went with this homeschooling group to this mountain that was just over the state line from Ohio into Indiana. I think it was called Perfect North. And so for a certain season, when it was relatively cold enough, they would pump a bunch of fake snow onto these, what they called mountains. I mean, they're
hills
dwarfed by, but they're still pretty big. I mean, you can still do some pretty legit stuff. And so I got really good at skiing because we would go every Wednesday all winter from before the sun came up till after it went down. And so, skiing, boarding. I'm a Florida dude, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and I love it. I love it.
Man. There's a few things that I love about being a human, and that's one of them, is being up in the mountains, in the snow, surfing on the snow with like a little board strapped to your feet. It's just ridiculous. And you're flying and you're going through the trees and like you're with, hopefully your friends or family, like having a good time and then enjoying like a nice IPA in the middle of it. That's just that's my heaven.
There you go. You don't just put a Camelback on and have the straw come over?
I've done that. I've definitely done that. I'll admit
Good for you. Good. I was too young when I was in middle school to be doing that, but if I were in your position now, that's what I'd be doing too. So, kindred spirits there. And it's funny too, like you said, like it's one thing that you love about being human. I want to hear what else makes you tick and what is the human experience for you? What's the fullness and richness of it? But isn't it funny how something as simple as, like you said, a board strapped to your feet, surfing on the snow, it seems like the more simple the thing is that you're doing, the richer it can be. Isn't
Absolutely.
That weird?
Yeah, that's 100% it. It's a simple, at risk of sounding like a complete cliche, the most beautiful things in life are the simplest.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the ocean, like it's been there for how long and it's right there every single day. And I get to watch a sunset every single day. It's so simple. There's nothing to it, but it's
I know.
like, God, gives me the chills every day. It gives me the chills, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and really quick, just to kind of take that and then marry it back over to business and stuff. And we're talking on marketing and trying to do it the right way. It's the simple intention
Right.
of what you're doing. Once again, and I get really like stuck on a theme for a while, and it's everything that I absorb and everything that I'm pushing back out. So like we were just on your podcast, and I was kind of going off on the same thing, but it's like, what is the fundamentals? What's the simplified version? Distill it down more. When things seem wild and crazy and complex and fast pace, and you've got no energy, and you don't even know how to apply the word management into your life because you're just so overextended. It's like, go find a board and find some snow, or like go stick your toes in some sand.
Yep. Go, for me, it's go to like a live show, like go watch some music. At like a small,
man.
like an intimate venue, you know, kind of divey.
Yeah, listening to some Shaky Graves.
Oh man, you know my sweet spot.
Yeah, I was listening to it this morning. I hadn't listened to Shaky in a while. I found him from another buddy, a good music buddy that I have, and he was building his own like suitcase kick drum.
Oh, your friend was?
Yeah.
Oh,
he had this old vintage,
that.
like worn out blue looking hard shell suitcase, like
God,
luggage bag
awesome.
from like the 60s or something.
Yeah.
And he was carving it out and putting in a drum head and setting up the pedal. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, you ever heard of Shaky Graves?
Yeah.
And
Oh
was
my
like,
God, I need to meet
No,
him.
but tell me. No, but tell me. I'm going to go have a drink with him and some other people tonight. So I'll make sure to let him know he had his spotlight here.
Right.
There's another Shaky fan out there.
Oh man,
yeah,
I mean,
he introduced me, and so
I'm the
good.
biggest Shaky fan. It's like I turn into a little kid when we talk about him. I've seen him 6 times. Should have seen him way more, but the pandemic happened, and then I've like met him a couple times, like hugged him, and
wow,
which
it was a long hug too, right?
Oh,
you really held on.
Just a little too long. You know, whispered in his ear. No,
you have to. You mean everything to me.
But that's so cool. I've actually like walked up to the line of buying a suitcase and making a jump, but I haven't done it yet. So maybe connecting with him, and I'll pick his brain on how he did it. Cause that would just add a whole another dimension to my playing around.
Cause you are a musician. We have kind of touched on this just really quickly, but you play, what instruments do you play? What do you stick to? What do you like? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, man. I started off with drums when I was really young. That was my first instrument. I love the drums. But then, you know, you can't really like take drums places. And I to this day have never been very serious about it. It's a hobby for me. Like you've sought it out way more professionally, and actually played on stage and stuff. Bill is a full blown.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere close to that. So, but I play every single day. I play the guitar, which I learned about, I want to say 6 years ago now, maybe. No, 7, 8. I don't even know, man. Time's weird. Let's see.
I know.
At least 7.
Remember that stuff.
And I just kind of like taught myself and was mostly inspired by Shaky. I learned the picking pattern and then made it my own. So I love finger picking. It's my favorite thing. And now I'm writing songs. I have maybe 20 songs that I've started, but only a handful that I feel good about that are finished. And so this year I'm creating a box around finish an album, finish 10 songs.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how bad they are, just get them done.
Yeah.
Because it's just you were talking earlier about the fulfillment that comes from the work that you do when you put in that intentional energy and time. And for me, writing a song is that the messy middle. It starts off, it's really fun because you're like, oh, this is a cool idea. And then usually the first quarter of the song comes to me really quickly and easily.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when it's like time for me to either go all in or not. And most of the time I forget about it for a while.
Right.
And it never gets finished. So I have all these unfinished songs. But if I can just push through that phase where you have to actually dig deep and play with it, and it's ugly and it's frustrating and it sucks.
Yeah.
Bill, we were talking about that with Bill. If you can get to the other side, it's the best feeling ever. So that's what I'm trying to do.
So is this something that once you get these songs, are you going to push it out to the world? Am I going to be able to find you on related artists and Spotify under Shaky?
Dream come true. I have no intentions. I would say I'm leaving that completely open-ended.
Beautiful.
My thing is, thanks. Yeah. My thing is just, I don't love my voice when I'm singing. I feel like it's not quite there yet. I'm pretty confident with the guitar, but the singing is like, I don't love my voice. I've only heard good feedback, but I don't trust anyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I hear myself and it sounds like crap. So I'm like, there's no way everyone is telling the truth, you know?
Right.
But that's kind of that like imposter syndrome, creative disease that we have as creators, is like never liking our stuff sometimes.
Oh man.
Hard.
Yeah, so true. One way you could do it, this is in my experience, this will get you over that hurdle really quick. I mean, it's a bit of the deep end.
Yeah.
But go sign up or see if you can't weasel your way into playing like a happy hour at a bar on a mic, and you're going to be there and you're going to have to play for somewhere between 3 and 4 hours.
Oh,
dude, nerve-wracking.
That will do it. So
nerve-wracking.
Tell me about this. You've done this clearly.
Oh, yeah. I've done it well, and I've done it very not well also. And actually what I did is I was like, man, my voice is getting so tired and I'm starting to sound like just like more like raspy as it's going on, which for some of the music I was doing, like it totally didn't fit.
Got it.
And I was like, well, I've got, music friends around me now. I'm very, very fortunate to have a awesome circle, a close circle of extremely talented musicians. And so one of my buddies, I was like, hey, split the gig with me. Let's do that. And of course, he's also like a good like drinking buddy for me, and so of course they're there and they're like, yeah, you're getting paid to be here. We'll give you free drinks. And it's like, oh shoot, we went through some pictures. Like, I wonder what we were sounding like out there. But man, does your nerves go away?
Really?
So I'm not necessarily saying go and get sloshed and then go perform so that you're but it's kind of sometimes for the things that you really want, and maybe you don't want or don't care to necessarily try to become a performer, a live performer. But if you do, sometimes jumping into the deep end is kind of the way to do it.
Yep.
Or if you have a friend doing it, say, hey, can I slide up there for a song or two? It's like low pressure. What I always told myself was, I'm at this like bar and grill type of place or just a straight up pub. I'm just background. Nobody's really paying much attention, and the less attention they're paying, the better I'm doing. Because I'm not supposed to be, I'm not supposed to have all the eyes on me. And so that was something that like a mental encouragement to myself that helped me, get out of that. But yeah, at this point, and the nerves are still there.
Of course.
And I think that applies into any area of life where you care about the result of something.
Well said, yeah.
Because it also goes into it's really just comes down to this 3-letter word of ego. Not that you're egotistical, because I think a lot of people all automatically jump that far, and that's what they think that people mean by that. But a lot of times, really what you're saying is just how you think people are perceiving you and what that does to you, whether it's good or bad, and how you move forward through that. Ego is attached into everything in some capacity, and ego is not a bad thing.
No.
It's not, but you have to define things. You have to understand what something actually is before you start having an opinion on it, or, whatever those next steps are for you. You need to really don't just go necessarily with the crowd on. It's kind of like a really good example that I've seen. And like I've mentioned before, like grew up in church and, So, with this Christian background that I still obviously identify with, the word meditation, oh, now you're dancing with the devil, baby. Don't do that. And it's like, no, come on. Like, let's hold on a second. Let's better look at what this word means.
Right.
So before you go and say meditation is of the devil or any of this kind of stuff, look at what it actually means and what your intention is behind it. And just like with your ego, let's zoom out, let's dive within. And if we can work on some of these roots, some of the roots of the tree of your existence, of you, now you can actually reckon with the ego that you have, the things that you like, the things that you don't like, and it helps quiet the imposter syndrome and some of those other things that we have. That's what I feel like I've recognized.
Yeah, man. Damn. That's a really cool example. And the ego is such an interesting topic because I've tried to figure out what that means for me too. And I've really come to the conclusion that the ego is there for a reason. We'll start there. And then for me, it's it's there to help you grow, because if you didn't have an ego, then what would happen? You would be you wouldn't give a shit about anything. You would just be floating around completely ungrounded, and there would be no kind of compass. And I think that the ego is there to keep you grounded, to remind you that you're in this real world. You're an animal. At the end of the day, we're all animals. And for you to kind of think that you're above that is maybe one mistake. I always like to think, we're getting to the spiritual realm a little bit, but the paradox of being a human is we don't matter at all. We are so tiny and insignificant, and we're just popped here and nothing really matters. Equally, we are everything. We are we are God. God is us. We are part of the universe and everything. Regardless of what you believe, there's so many different versions of the same truths, and the ego is there in the middle. Yeah. It's just sitting there. It's I'm gonna challenge you today because your internet's gonna go down in the middle of the podcast episode, and you're gonna have to figure it out without losing your shit. And if I didn't have an ego, I'd just be oh well, or something. I don't know what I would do, but it'd be really weird and unproductive.
It's kind of hard to think of because it's so prominent.
Yeah,
it's so much us.
Yeah,
without that, we are not the humans that we understand. It would just be a completely different existence.
I actually know a friend who had a complete ego death. You ever heard of that?
Tell me about that.
All I know is just in certain spaces, it was, at least, I feel like it's probably proven that it's not helpful at all, but some people want to experience an ego death. They don't have an ego anymore. And I'll just say that when they reached out after some time and they had done this, it was really scary.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. And some time had to go by before we were able to come back. And they they were like, I'm sorry, that was crazy. I went through this thing and it was just
kind of push the extreme on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because without ego the argument could be said that meaning starts to go away.
Right.
And without meaning, you become aimless. And aimlessness is death.
Right.
In its own sense.
That's so true.
Because then you just become this empty vessel. But yeah, so bring us around. Bring us around. I took us really far off, and I loved everything you were saying. Bring it back into ego, into energy management, some of the stuff we've talked on. How does that tie into what's some tips, tricks, advice that you would give to listeners? And I'm still learning the audience as we're doing this. So I think it's anybody with an entrepreneurial spirit, or they've identified that within themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are kind of in the newer phase of that, whether they're punching the clock, but they have this other idea, this dream that they want to reach out and try, but they're scared of that, or they're already in the dirt and it's just real messy. Kind of bring it through from spiritual into the tangible and into business and entrepreneurs. Yeah,
ground it down a little bit into reality in the day-to-day. I think that entrepreneurship or whatever you want to call it. Like at the end of the day, you're trying to, you're working towards building a sustainable business, right? Whether you're a coach or you have a physical product or a service or a productized service, you are connecting, you're building a bridge between the people that you serve or the people that you want to serve, depending on where you are, and the product or service that best serves them. That's it. And I always like to say, marketing is dead. and I did a series called Marketing is Dead, Do This Instead. And that's a play. It's not necessarily.
That was smooth.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. And it was about like Elon Musk is a great example again, because he's not a marketer, yet he's the best marketer in the world. It's a weird paradox. Mm. He doesn't call himself a marketer. He doesn't do marketing strategies per se. Instead, he just is obsessed with his product and talks about it with people. And he's really interesting and a polarizing figure. So for me, the takeaway is when you're building your business, first off, create an awesome product. So tinker with it for a while before you start to put it out there. Get people to get results, have people go through whatever the product is, get results, because that's going to speak volumes in a marketing way. Yeah. Is just look at it. Look at what it's done. Look at the results that people are getting from this thing. And then also, a lot of people that I talk to are like more on the personal brand. Like it's just them. Like with you, Evan, people probably hire they don't hire your agency. They hire you. Right. Like they're building a relationship with you mostly. And you can obviously like scale and grow beyond that in a way. But at the end of the day, like it's going to start with you. And I'm a big believer in like doubling down on the you-ness, like what makes you unique. And, I always bring up Liz Wilcox because she's the perfect example for this. We talked about this. I definitely recommend anyone follow her. She's like 90s pop culture, loves NSYNC. She calls herself the fresh princess of email.
I just saw that actually. Yeah. So awesome.
And so she stands out, like her website, everything she does stands out. It's like bright yellow 90s retro vibe. And it's really fun. And so she doubled down on her, and her story is really unique too. I think if you can, as a personal brand of any kind, or just kind of like the head of your business, stand out in the way that's authentic. So for Elon, it's smoking weed and on Joe Rogan and shooting a flamethrower, and tweeting ridiculous things and having your stock plummet or whatever because he like went too far and said, broke the law. It's like that stuff in hindsight or in the grand scheme doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? He took a weird risk and he doesn't really care. So hopefully that point was made. Did that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. No, absolutely. Because using Elon as the example, it's like he is clearly doubled down on himself.
Right.
And he's invested in himself. And that's, I think, something that people are scared to do. Something else you brought up as far as investing in yourself, a tactical way of doing that, which I have not experienced yet. So it's kind of on my 2022 goals list, is some sort of business coach or mentality coach. And the podcast is an example of me trying to reach out and saying I want to connect with people. I want them to connect back. I want to learn from you. If there's something I can share that's valuable, freaking sweet. And then in the process of us recording and publishing, the growth of our relationship and the things that we have in common and the things we like to talk about, it's helping a bunch of people. And it kind of has that butterfly effect. And so, man, we talked about a handful of stuff here, and I have a bunch more that I want to. So I'm going to bring you back.
That'd be awesome.
I'm going to bring you back on this pod at some point. And we're gonna make some more stuff happen. But before we wrap this thing up, put a bow on this thing, I've got some questions to throw at you.
Cool.
Some fun cues. And I tried to shoot over a couple of them to you yesterday, so you had a chance to kind of think on it a little bit. So
I didn't.
I don't know if you did your homework
Which
or not.
is going to be even more fun.
So some of them are easy to answer. Some of them are going to take you a second. But knowing you at this point, you got it.
Cool.
Question number 1. What's something that most people don't know about you?
So I would say I'm 6'5". You can't really tell that through video and pictures.
That's crazy that you said that, because I've seen some of your profile pictures, some of your your headshots and stuff, or you look tall. 6'5", really?
Yeah, I'm tall.
Dang, man.
I know.
I'm 5'10" on a good day.
Nice.
Yeah, I think my driver's license says 5'9". Or maybe when I moved to Florida, I told them I was 5'10" and did the tippy toe thing.
Right.
Just to get that extra inch.
I got this, what's it called? Inverter table for cause I used to have one, and it's so good for your spine. Cause gravity, freaking gravity.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Freaking gravity.
So I laid down every day on that thing and hang upside down for as long as my brain can handle it. So I recommend that
trick.
And yoga. It's, I was tall to begin with, but that is nice for my spine to elongate.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's truthfully, it is very healthy. The decompression of the spine is really important.
Yeah.
But so apparently you heard it here first, folks. Miles says, if you want to be 6'5", here's a place to start. Get an inversion table. All right, next question. In another life or later in life, what is your dream career if you couldn't have what you have right now?
Oh, God, that's awesome. I have a few. Can I give more than one?
Top two.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, whatever.
I love the structure. I would say an architect.
Ooh.
Because I'm a very visual. I like building things visually. I I thought about going down that route because I've always been good at drawing and visual stuff, which ultimately is what I really do now in a lot of ways. But yeah, I just went down the marketing path. And it's funny how I got into marketing too. In school, I was like, well, I don't know what the hell I want to do.
Right.
Because I don't know about anyone else, but I had no clue. Who has a clue what they want to do when they're at college?
It's rare.
It's silly.
It's rare.
But I chose marketing because I was like, well, business is broad. Everything is a business. So I guess I'll do business, and I don't want to do management or accounting or finance. So I guess I'll do marketing. And then sure enough, it's what I got into after school too. So,
well, now you're a self-proclaimed markitect.
Exactly.
Is that correct? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah. Marketing architect.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Cause I actually am my title was media architect for a company. So it's kind of a combination of that. I really like the idea, whenever I work with clients, to build out their ecosystem or funnels, I'm very visual with it. So it feels like I'm architecting that with them. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's so cool. Love it. Architect, man. Okay, how about this? Goldfish or Cheez-Its?
Ooh, sorry for the trash truck. It's raw.
No, you're fine.
Still working on getting my own studio. Goldfish.
Goldfish?
Oh, here's a fun fact too.
My man. A lot of people say Cheez-Its. I mean, I like them both, but.
Right. So the other fun fact, oh my God, so many fun facts are coming to me now.
I'll just rip them off. Let's go.
So the first one is that I don't like cheese. I just was born not liking cheese. There's no reason. I think maybe as a baby, I was lactose intolerant or something. And then I grew out of that. So people are like, what's wrong with you?
Right. That's definitely something most people probably don't know.
Yeah.
Especially if you're walking around eating goldfish, then they're going to think that you like. So do you like goldfish, or do you just not like it, but it's better than the other?
I'd say I like both. I don't like cheese, but Cheez-Its don't really taste that much like cheese. You know what I mean?
It's its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like both, but I don't eat them. I don't remember the last time I had a Cheez-It or a goldfish, to be honest. But you got kids. Maybe, there's more.
Dude, we've pretty much always got both. Yeah. And it's a problem for Dad Bod over here. Favorite emoji? Don't pick a boring one. Don't pick one anybody would pick.
Okay. So it's a 1000%. I realize I use this all the time. It's the, what's this called?
Yeah, cartwheel.
Cartwheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
mid cartwil one.
Yeah, that's
You know,
awesome.
yeah, that's like you can use that anywhere. It's like, hey, see you later, cartwheel.
You know what? And it's so funny because I don't think I've ever used it.
Damn, man.
But
That's a good
as you're
one.
saying it, it's kind of opening up my eyes.
Yeah,
You know, see, so if for nothing else, you're helping me expand my emoji vocabulary.
which is important and useful in life.
So yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. What makes you smile?
Live music.
Live music. Beautiful. What
IPA
are you
as
most
well.
scared of?
Oh God, damn. I have one. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
most scared of not death. I'm actually not that scared of death. Well, I don't want to die, but I'm not scared of it really. I most fear. I'll get deep for a second. I had brain fog for 6 years, like severe brain fog, which is actually like I have a brand that I started. It's a whole other conversation, but called Brain Thrive, where I help. My goal is to help transform 500 brains from foggy to fit because I couldn't function. And I had to like dive deep into my own brain and health and everything to figure out how to lift my fog. So, and really brain fog is almost like a precursor to, it's like the beginning stages of a neurodegenerative disease like dementia. And so my biggest fear, because I've experienced it a little bit through brain fog and then also other people in my life, not having a functional brain. So, getting old and in a sense, like losing my sense of reality or losing my mind or being trapped in like dementia, like that is such a common problem in our world. So I'm really passionate about helping to solve it. But then with myself, my biggest fear is like, when I can't think of words or I lose my train of thought, I get really scared because I need to like do some more mental fitness so that doesn't happen.
Well, and that's incredible too, that you were like, I mean, that a success story of what you were dealing with that mental fog, and then saying, I'm going to provide a solution. I'm going to work on providing a solution for this thing. I am going to fix the thing that I'm most scared of.
And
because because if there's one of them,
right.
You in this example, there's a ton of them. There's a lot of people. And like you said, it can happen, and it does happen, and it's very prevalent. So kudos to you, man, for putting, taking pain and creating a solution for people, taking what is fearful for you and facing it head on. I mean, that's kind of what this podcast is about, among many other things, but that is one of the pillars that I try to represent as an individual and with this podcast. So last question, what do you want to leave people with? What do you want the takeaway to be, if there's anything, and then kind of just marry that straight into where people can connect with you, what you can offer to them, and build relationship moving forward?
So I'm not going to try to be poetic as much as I want to be like, here's my one-liner. I'm just going to say that take action. Like whenever I'm feeling stagnant or lost and I take action, whether that's literally going to the gym, calling a friend, or getting some client work done, or writing, like whatever, take some action instead of thinking, because thinking is fucking powerful, but it will also destroy you. So know when to think and when not to think, and keep moving forward.
Dude, I love it. Love it. Yeah, man. I want to start clapping. I just don't want to blow out people's ears. And where can people find you? And what do you have for the people out there?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I guess the best place to go is my website. And then actually above that, my Instagram, because my biggest thing is I love relationships. Relationships have been the biggest mover in my life. They brought me the most joy, even though I'm an introvert, which is something I'm always like figuring out, because sometimes I don't want to talk to anyone, but I value relationships. So that's a fun thing. I really love helping introverts specifically. So creators, coaches, entrepreneurs, people that are building and creating things, but are also introverted, more on like the sensitive, quiet side, because I very much resonate with that. And I've done a lot of work to build my business and my life in a way that fits that and everything else I'm doing. So my website's myheartfunnel.com. And then my Instagram is on there, or milestones_co.
Heyo.
And yeah, I would love if someone like shot me a DM or something and could start a conversation.
Oh, that'd be sweet. That would be sweet. And I am just so excited. I know we're on the front side of this podcast, so this is an early episode of what we're building over time. But man, the value that you're bringing to this, and you've been an inspiration for me and helped me kind of like work my way through some of the fogginess that I've had as I'm trying to expand and do business the way that I want to moving forward. Like, you're a great example for people to go and check out your site, and you're very visual. You could tell on the site. You've got awesome layout, obviously great taste in music, got the cool long hair, 6'5". The dude's a catch, everybody. So, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, spending the time. And I'm really looking forward already to scheduling something and continue to have these kinds of conversations, man. You're a great dude.
Likewise, Evan. Thanks for having me, and keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to coming on again down the road.
Absolutely. Everybody, thank you for listening to Evan and Miles on this episode of Which Way Now. We covered a lot. Hope you found some value in it. And until next time, peace. Well, that does it for this episode. You can always reach out to me directly on my Instagram at evanshank75 with any thoughts or questions you may have. I'd love to connect and hear your story. Make sure you follow and subscribe, and also leave a review on whichever platform you're listening to this on. My only question to you is, which way now?